This video will be a literary analysis. I repeat, a literary analysis consisting of the reasonings of Frankenstein's monster, Uchiha Madara, and Midora. Now, these are the characters. Once again, the reasonings of Frankenstein's monster, that's from Mary Shelley's masterpiece of a novel, Frankenstein. Discard the first part with the letters, just saying. Uchiha Madara from the series Naruto, and Midora from the series Toriko. Now, I do actually review the series Toriko for those who want to know. Do chapter reviews. Now, this video was sparked by three things. Number one, a small discussion I had with Fire Fist Dre. Shout out to Dre. What's happening? Shout out to Fire Fist. Fire Fist puts in mad work. Anyways, I had a small discussion with him about Madara's logic, and I wanted to address that as well as go back to the archetype of these type of characters, who is Frankenstein's monster. Not Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein was the creator, and I'll get into that a bit later. But both Midora and Madara are branch off from his archetype. Okay. Secondly, which is a video I'm will post in the description, is Uber Hikari's latest Naruto review. Yes, Uber is back for those who are fans like I am. His review of chapters, Naruto review of chapter 663, I believe. Yes. And he talked about Madara being the embodiment of war and a whole bunch of elements. And I don't always do videos and whatever in the description, but when I do, especially when it's to somebody else, it's because I think it's highly important to understand. And I've done this from one or two of Uber's videos before. I mean, the man, his analysis is spot on. It was perfectly correct when he dealt with Madara. And some of his other reviews on it, like him saying Kishimoto is the best writer of the big three, I disagree with. But when it comes to Madara, his was very insightful, and I could get spot on from someone who comes from a literary perspective, such as I'm not a fan of the story of Naruto, but what he broke down, I do keep up with it through various YouTube reviews. What he broke down was very factual, to say the least. Now, the third reasoning is kind of one of my own. When I was considering what Uber was saying, I thought of, I gotta do this, obviously in response to Mario. Then I thought about Midora in comparison, Then I'm like, you know what? They remind me of Frankenstein's monster, okay? And so I'm like, I might as well do a literary analysis of these type of characters, because they are characters that are not understood, okay? Now, before I begin with each of the characters and break them down, their psychology, and how this type of character is evolved, and all the backstory and all this jazz, right? First of all, you gotta understand, there are actually 4 camps that people fall into when it comes to characters like this. And what are these kind of characters? These are your monsters, but they're not your typical monsters that you'll find. These are the monsters. They're not like your dragons and whatever. These are, you can say, they fall into 3 things that make them monsters. First of all, they are extraordinary by nature. By nature, they were created, or in Frankenstein's case, his father, Victor Frankenstein, made him a freak of nature. He created this unnatural, this abomination, so to say, okay? So, he's a freak. He's definitely a freak by nature. That's why he's an archetype. When you have, now there's other ancient things, but they're different. I'm specifically talking about these certain characters. And there's others. But I think Mary Shelley, she put forth the archetype. She put forth the godfather of these type of characters. With Madara, he has his chakra. His chakra number, if I'm not mistaken, is unique. It's abnormal, It's unique. his strategy, his battle sap, his combat prowess. He's a monster of a shinobi. He's an absolute beast when it comes to shinobi. He's arguably the pinnacle of what a shinobi is. A ninja. A shinobi is a ninja. Okay? And I'll go more into depth with that. By nature, he's a monster. And then with Midora, he literally is, he's a top predator. Okay? He's on the 8, you can argue to say he's on of the Gourmet World 8 Kings level. Okay? He may be possibly, potentially on the Blue Nitro level. And for those who don't know the series Toriko, that means probably nothing to you. Well, let's just say they're top tier creatures in the world of Toriko and in the Toriko seemingly universe. We don't know yet. But in the Gourmet World, which is ridiculously powerful creatures, yeah, Midora is up there. Okay? He was stated, again, I'll get more into depth with it, but yeah, by nature, Midora's, he has ancestral lines. There's things about him by nature. Now, the second part of it, you gotta understand, is not only they're a freak by nature, monster by nature, product of nature, they're a product of their environment. They're a product of the societies they were raised in. And I'll get more into depth of it, but you have with Frankenstein's monster. Once again, he doesn't even have a name. He doesn't have a name. And for those who are Hunter x Hunter fans, especially fans of the Hunter x Hunter 2011, since it's on the Chimera Anarch, okay, currently, do you remember what Merriam said? Merriam the King. He talked about the importance of the name. Okay? My title is king, but what is my actual name? When it comes to humanity, one of our most distinguishing factors is that we name things. We put labels on them. And I'm not going to discuss the labels, the good, bad, and ugly about them. But names and labels put forth association. We know they also make it, in the cases of these people, they're individualistic. Now, it gets dicey because you can have a label as a number. For example, if you're a prisoner, you're inmate 00269 and what blah blah blah. But that's not a name. A name, even on the YouTube world, I won't get my actual name, but in the YouTube world, I'm the Unexpected Wonder. That's my name. As far as, for those who don't know, that's who I am. I'm Wonder. I'm the Unexpected Wonder. Unexpected Wonder is my name. That signifies who I am. That signifies a lot of things. Even that name alone, it brings into thoughts into people's minds, okay? There's a lot that comes with the name. Now, he doesn't have a name. He's a freaking, he's hated. He's rejected by his own father. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have family. He's hated. Okay? He's hated by times. He's loved by one person, but he's hated by most of society. Think about that. Uchiha Madara. Madara is freaking, again, I'll get more into depth with each other. Madara, he's born into a world at war. He's forced as a child to fight in war. To say the least. He's forced to kill those he may care about and love. Friends. That's tough. Other clan members. Other clans, He may have associated with these people. He's forced to kill as a child. Okay, you want to talk about no childhood? And then when we talk about Midora, from birth, he had to fight for survival. He was left for dead. Okay, Midora was. This dude, from birth, he's literally actually fighting to survive. He's killing to survive. Period. Nobody gave him jack. Nobody gave him jack. And until later on, until he was a teenager, okay, nobody gave him, he grew up with that. He grew up in a world that was also at war, mind you. Now, the third thing besides being a freak by nature, product of their environment, the psychological and philosophical depth that these characters have, their lives. Now, their means and their ways, their wisdom is there, but they become quite hypocritical to their goals. But it's a hypocrisy, but a seeming justified hypocrisy. Okay, it's a in meaning that it's a paradox. They're paradoxical characters. Okay, so because they embody so much, and they try to deal with it. Now enough with the breakdown. I hope once again the three main things about these type of characters. There's other characters. I'm pretty sure once I break them down, if you know literature, if you know shows, movies, and whatnot, anime, whatever else, medium, film, and entertainment, you'll find other characters. Rarely, but you'll find them. They're freaks by nature. They're products of their environment, and they have psychological and philosophical depth, which makes them a paradox, because their actions don't coincide with what they're preaching, with what their word, with their ideology. Okay. Now I'll get more into their ideology and their depth, but let me begin with Frankenstein's monster. Once again, Frankenstein's monster is, as he's known, is I have to address that. A lot of people say Frankenstein, they mean Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein's monster never had a name. That's huge in of itself. He never had a name. Okay? Frankenstein's monster is created by Victor Frankenstein in the 17 whatever, right? This dude, he's made from dead corpses. Okay? He's made huge. He's massive. He's also given the ability by nature to learn. He has great intellect. Okay, he can learn very rapidly. He's awkward. He's ugly. He's ugly. He's not not handsome by any means. His presence is formidable, full bold. As soon as he's created by lightning and an ambionic fluid and a whole bunch of elements. Just read the story, you know what I'm talking about. He's a freak, literally a freak of nature. He's an abomination. He was created. He's something that should have never been created. How he got a soul, I don't know. Don't even. That's a question I don't have. But whatever. That's not what she was approaching at. When you have Frankenstein's monster, he gets up. As soon as his creator sees him actually go, he shuns him. After all these years he put in mad work, Victor Frankenstein did, he instantly shuns him. So that's in this concept of a god, okay? Different from even a deist point of view, because a deist point of view comes from the perspective of a god set everything up and he just left things alone. In this perspective, you had a god. You came face to face with the deity, your creator, okay, mind you. And your creator, to your face, rejected you and hid his presence from you. That's deep. That's a massive psychological scar. So already, your mindset, it's the questions of, why was I created? Do I have value? What's the purpose of life? You already are confronted from both with the deep philosophical questions that humans, dwell upon. Now, mind you, he was made with the body of an adult, but he was the mind of a child. He didn't understand. He couldn't grasp these things. He didn't even know how to speak. He was looking to be taught. He was looking to be guided, mentored, Victor should have taught him. But then Victor later feels regret because things that I'll get into when he tries to track him down, and it leads to Victor's own downfall. But then, Frankenstein's monster goes and does his own thing after offing Victor, which I thought was perfect, actually. I thought it was very reasonable because, I'm sorry, I don't feel sorry for Frankenstein when you create a monster. You created the monster. It was twist the iron, you twist the plate. It was perfectly done that your monster kills you. Perfect. Anyway, your creation kills you. People say, oh, but it's creation. No, you create your own problems. You create your own problems. You run the bait that you make, okay? When you talk about Frankenstein's monster, so this dude goes off. And he, he don't know Jack. But he eventually goes and he finds a shed by this couple. I mean, not his couple, but I think it was a father and daughter, and I believe the daughter was blind. He taught the daughter. No. Before that was the turning point. And also, every single one of these characters like this, these monsters, they all have a turning point. Before that, I believe he went into a town, okay, and the townspeople, they just, like the vampires and werewolves, pitchforks and stuff, they were trying to burn and kill this guy. Remember, he was a child's mind. He didn't understand. He didn't even understand his own strength. And he had to flee. He was chased out by the townspeople. Understand that. That is massive. That's the second strike. Not only are you rejected by your creator, and your father, okay? You can't even call him a dad, just your father. You were doggone rejected by society. Practically outlawed. You're an outlaw now. Frankenstein's monster was an outlaw. And eventually, I'll get to that. Then when we go to the situation with the father-daughter, Frankenstein's monster learns to read, and he gleans from kind of osmosis action. He learns because the father is teaching the daughter, and again she's blind. Frankenstein's monster actually meets, and they have a relationship. But when the father finds out this monster, he tries to kill him. So Frankenstein, he got an education, and he was still rejected because of the way he looked. That's deep, yo. Not only are you rejected by your father, your creator, not only are you rejected by society, you don't even have a place in the world because of the very nature of how you look. What does that say? Now, Mary Shelley, I don't know what, she wanted to make a horror story and whatnot. I think this was based off a dream. But I don't even know, I wonder if she realized the psychological depth that she constructed, and the sociological, the philosophical questions that she done. I'm pretty sure, because even the creation of life thing, that was huge. That's massive in of itself. But we're moving on. So you have these three knocks against you, right? And then we come to the fact is he goes and he finds Frankenstein. The Frankenstein monster finds Frankenstein's hometown or home castle, whatever. And no. He goes. Did he tell him? I'm trying to remember how it goes. I know he has a conversation with Frankenstein. It was either before or after he kills Frankenstein's kid brother. And by this point, the turning point was when he was now, if he would have got love from that father, you have a completely different story. But when he got turned off, the last hope, he got love from that dog. But when he got banished, because he had nothing left. And by this point, Frankenstein's a man. You can say his mentality. He's a man. When a man has nothing left, what is it? When a man has no above everything else in this world, a man needs a purpose. And when a man doesn't have a purpose in life, it's over. If a man does not have a purpose in life, he has no meaning to live. If there's no goals that he can complete, whatever, he doesn't belong to anything. Then there is nothing for him in this world. That's what Frankenstein's monster was dealing with as a man. And I totally follow that. I totally understand it. I don't blame him. Yeah, I blame him for murder, but at the same time, I don't blame him. And that's where the paradoxes begin. Frankenstein created his own, Victor Frankenstein created his own problem. First of all, he was to blame, then society was to blame, the family, the community, and then society, okay? And they all were to blame. And they created this monster. The society that he lived in, as well as his father, created this monster. No home, no family, no community, no society. Rejected. You understand? Completely rejected. So he goes and kills. But he is not a sociopath. I don't even think he's a psychopath. He's not, he's highly intelligent. I wouldn't even say he's a psychopath. And I forget how many times he actually kills. I can't remember the instant, but it doesn't matter. Okay? He confronts and he tells, I think he sends a message to Frankenstein, and they have an intelligent discussion, and he actually broke this whole flashback down. And we get his point of view, his perspective. And then we get the chase from, that, Frankenstein chases Frankenstein's monster, and eventually you have the murder on Robert's boat, and then Frankenstein's monster just jumps off and leaves. But yeah, I mean, do you understand the psychological problems that Frankenstein's monster had to deal with? Now, when we go into Madara, though, Uchiha Madara, and hopefully y'all have stayed around for this long. And again, this video is gonna be long, as obvious. It's already been on 21 minutes, but still, this is an analysis, ladies and gents, an analysis. Now with Madara, this dude, once again, was born into a freaking world at war. He was born into the lifestyle of a shinobi. As a child, he was forced to kill. He was forced to become a child soldier. We even have that in our own world, but this is different. Okay? This is what the shinobis do. They were assassins. That's what they do. He had to kill friends. He watched his family members die. He wasn't thinking as a child. He's like, yo, we can create a better world. And then he meets Senju Hashirama. They become friends and whatever. As they age, they become both very powerful. Those two clans, the Senju and the Uchiha clan, unite and form Konoha, the village, right? But one backtrack. One thing that Uber said, he talked about the god of the shinobi, the sage of six paths, was their god, right? This was a freaking warrior god. He wanted peace, but he couldn't even bring peace. And that's a shot fired I take at Naruto, trying to, this uber idealism makes no sense. Because the sage of six paths can't even bring peace. So how in the world is Naruto going to bring peace to the shinobi world, or the Naruto world in the whole? Didn't make sense. There was war before even the sage of six paths. He was the sage. He had all this power. He had all this ability, and he couldn't bring peace to the world. I'm just saying. So you have this warrior god, okay? This dude who brought ninjutsu into the world, the manipulation of chakra. This is who they had to look up to. This was their god. This is what Madara grew up in. So, progressing into adulthood, Madara and Hashirama form Konoha. They unite the Senju and the Uchiha clans, right? Eventually, other clans came along with them. There was other clans, the Hyuga, and all those other clans, right? Y'all know the clans. I don't know what y'all know clans. But then Hashirama, this is what he decides to do. This is what they were born in. Madara, different from Frankenstein's monster, but Madara is a freak by nature. He's been born into this ideology and he's to fight. It's a fight. Okay. Now with the thing with Hashirama and Madara, although they co-founded the village, this is key. And this is a turning point. As with Frankenstein's monster, it was a massive turning point. Hashirama and Madara, they're talking peace. Hashirama, now everybody loves Hashirama, but let's get real. Hashirama was a hypocrite that produced. Hashirama is the first one to blame with all this foolishness. Now, even though apparently he was talking about peace with the other villages, his diplomacy, he was allowing the other villages to talk smack, yo. These powerful beings in Hashirama and Madara. These other, the Kazekage was saying, you need to do this for me, you need to do that. So some shady deals were being done by the other, dealing with the other villages. That's something you need to think about. In diplomacy, it became shady, okay? And then you also got to take into consideration so I'm pretty sure Madara knew this, and he's like, yo, whoa, pause, time out. No, this ain't how it should be. Yo, we founded a village, okay? Why are we have to making these petty deals with these other villages? It makes no sense. Either we conquest or they come to our terms. Right along the way to view, understand the ideology, the mindset that Madara had to have because of what he grew up in. He grew up in war. And it's either conquest or, you guys need to move. And if you don't move, it's conquest. If things don't get done through proper diplomacy, it's conquest. It's war. And that's what it is. And with Madara, you need to understand one important factor before I mention the turning point. His is the survival of the fittest, which I actually vibe with. It's that's simple, basic evolution. But what I really vibe with is strength. Okay, he has different, but it is similar to the ideology on strength. And I may have to do a video on that. But a whole ideology on strength. Strength above all. It's not might equals right, but it's strength. Okay? Strength. You need power, and Uber was completely correct about this. You need power, whether it be physical, mental, whatever the means are. Power directs these things. When you're talking about justice and other things. Right or wrong, power isn't always in the proper hands, but power determines this. Okay? Strength. Madara became very powerful as well as the Hashirama. But yet they were still, Hashirama was still entertaining all this other foolishness from the other clans. They weren't wanting peace. They were wanting what was good for them. Once again, a bureaucracy. Why I'm against, government. Not against leadership, but I'm against government as an anarchist. Now, the turning point. Tobirama. Senju Tobirama. Tobirama, people applaud him for being the orchestra, the one who really structured the current system that we have to this very day in the Naruto world. Right? When you take into consideration, Tobirama was the problem. Hashirama didn't deal with the problem. He didn't deal with his brother. He even gave the mantle of leadership over to his brother. Instead of electing the man you're supposed to, not only friend, someone you considered a brother, not only rejecting him as the leadership of the village, you gave it to your own brother. Now, people, Tobirama talk about democracy. How is that democracy? You hand it off to your brother. I'm not saying it's wrong to, family ties if that's the best man for the job. Freaking Uchiha Madara helped found the village. People say, oh, that's being greedy. That's not being greedy. That's proper and right. That's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do. And considering the Uchiha clan was also a founding clan. So now you're doing clan favoritism with the Senju. Okay? So there's a problem. There's a multitude of problems here. Multitude of problems. Not only that, it's argued to say Tobirama was racist. Not racist he was racist against the Uchiha clan. He's claiming the Uchiha clan, all they are, is filled with hate and all this. That sounds like a bunch of racist talk to me. Okay? He was, or at least bigoted talk. He's assuming all Uchihas are the same. Stereotyping all Uchihas like this. Madara's like, yo, pause. Hold on, time out. No. We can't be having this, bro. You can't be having this. Now, why he didn't go to, or I'm not sure if he fought Tobirama or not. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Hashirama should squash that. No. What Hashirama does, he gives in to his brother's demands. And Madara's like, yo, my people, dog. These are my people. Y'all trying to chain in my people? What have they done wrong? You understand what I'm saying? What did the Uchihas do? So they have a battle. The Madara and Hashirama. And Madara loses, he brings him Cuba, and that's the turning point. Then Madara becomes a mastermind. Now the thing about it, I'm gonna get to the whole system. Madara becomes a mastermind, and even after that, he's still masterminding things. I mean, through Pain, aka Nagato, aka Pain, Uchiha Obito, and as well as Kabuto. He masterminded all that, and eventually now he's resurrected. And now he's to the point where it's always just war. He doesn't give a damn anymore. He's going to do what he has to do to complete the mission. Right? Complete his goal, that's it. Infinite Tsukuyomi. Now he's Sage of Six Paths. That's it. Now to the process of how it got to this point, and why Madara was the better choice as a leader. Look at what happened under the five Hokages. Hashirama allowed this foolishness to fester. Then you had Tobirama set up this system where, although he did give the Uchiha clan an important role in the village of Konoha, in the Hidden Leaf, where they were the police force or whatever, he segregated them. I don't care what anybody says. They weren't diseased. There was no reason they needed to be quarantined. He segregated them. And as a black man, now I'm not agreeing with all of what the Uchihas have done or all that they do, because they're emotional and all that jazz. But as a black man, I know my history. Black man in America, black American, segregation. Also, you have South Africa apartheid, and there's various races and various peoples across the world and across time that have been segregated and discriminated, a bunch of prejudice, even genocide. Okay. So Tobirama sets up a segregated state. Yeah, he puts Uchihas. It's like here you can have. I'm gonna give you some cookie. I'm gonna give you some crumbs. That festering turns into boils. Okay. And so we have Sarutobi. Sarutobi, instead of like, oh yeah, this system, we need to abolish this. This is wrong. What does Sarutobi do? Hiruzen, Sarutobi Hiruzen. What does he do? He does nothing. And I've constantly said this, one of the greatest quotes, but anyway, one of the greatest quotes is, or something along one of the greatest lessons is, evil exists in, the most evil, one of the most evil things, something along these lines, one of the most evil, the most evil thing is that, evil exists because good men decide to do nothing. Now, mind you, Hashirama, Tobirama, and Hiruzen were all called gods of the shinobi because they were so powerful and they did all this. But they allowed this system to be developed, this segregated system, against one specific clan, because that one specific clan is powerful and deemed a threat. But y'all founded a village with this clan. It's the backstabbing of. It reminds me of how America did with the Native Americans. These were the original inhabitants, and y'all just screw that. The Spanish, I can go throughout history, time and time again, invasive people. This is different, but it reminds me of that. So what do you have here? You have Minato. Minato is Hokage, and maybe Minato would have changed things, but he died too young. So yeah, and by that point, the situation had got completely out of hand. Okay, got completely out of hand, and the whole Obito and everything, because when you allow these evil systems to exist for this long, hell's gonna break loose. Okay, and so Minato's dead, and then we have Danzo, and then the whole Itachi, and what the fact that about Itachi, your own clan members killing your own clan, that shit, the whole genocide factor. See, that's what boiled down. It became genocide, and then you produce Sasuke. See, the cycle's continuing because the cycles never stop. The cycle of hate, that was produced. Cycle of hate, as usual. The prejudice, all that was produced. because leadership, was in it did dirt. It was in a mess. It was doing dirty things. It's good, great leaders they may have been in other things. When it came to social issues, it sucked. The policies sucked. And that's what caused all this. So Madara, if Madara would have had this, what do you think would have happened? Do you really think Madara would have voted over everything? No, I highly doubt that. Madara would have led the clans. Maybe Uchiha would have been the most important clan. So freaking what? What's so bad about the Uchiha having? They're all powerful. They have abilities. What's so bad about having the Uchiha being in leadership? It brings a balance of power. Okay? What do we have here? We have the fourth great shinobi war. Yeah, the whole world war is in line, but you're against a freaking one-man army. Legendary shinobi, arguably, besides the sage of six paths himself, arguably the most powerful shinobi that ever exists. And Uchiha Madara. He is a product. Now, when you look at him, I already talked about the whole ideology of strength. Uber Hikari talked about how he's the embodiment of war. He's war. He's what war is meant to be. You can only be diplomatic to a certain point. Diplomacy was done when his whole clan was disgraced. When his whole clan was segregated. When he fought with Hashirama, he fought his friend, who he considered a brother. That's just on the same note as if, Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece, fought Fire Fist Portuguese or Sabo. Okay, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Dudes consider themselves friends, not beyond friends. They're brothers. And you fight a death match with your brother? Instead of dealing with your real brother, your homie who's his type, who y'all was cool since childhood. This is what you gonna do? You gonna try to kill him? Now, mind you can say, but Madara brought a QB, and he brought the QB, and he was going for the death. Cause it came to that. I'm not excusing it, but that's what it came to. You understand what I'm saying? And then, so all this, the Madara, he's a hypocrite. He's full of potholes. But with Madara, he is a shinobi. He's the essence of a shinobi. He's mastered taijutsu. He's mastered ninjutsu. Genjutsu, we don't know what he's mastered. His ambition. It went from peace. No, it's still peace. Infamous. You don't have his peace. But now, he don't even care. He was willing to kill Sasuke. So it's no longer even about clan affiliate, none of that. No. It's about the goal and the mission. Y'all claim peace talk. I ain't seen it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute. Obito, you ain't do that, so screw you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to execute. I become the sage of six paths, and I have the power to execute what needs to be done. Because the shinobi war is never going to be at peace. Temporary alliances, all that goes away, all that fades, and the next generation will deal with the inherited problems. Okay? Madara has an extremely deep psychology. Not the deepest thing, but it's deep, man. It's deep. And the philosophy that this dude deals with, it's deep. Now, last but certainly not least, Midora. Freaking Midora. From birth. He has ancestral scars, ancestral gourmet cells, I believe. From birth, left for dead. Had to kill to survive as a baby, man. As a freaking baby. Are you kidding me? The world around him is in, I think it was 100-year war or something like that. 500-year war. I forget how long. But it's been I think it was 100 years or 200. It's been a long as war. Yo, Madara is born up in that. He's born up in poverty. He's starving. He's killing to survive. He's doing all he can do. He's in like a desert country, an impoverished nation. All he knows is survival of the fittest. Then, to say the least, there's plenty of other things. He's another one who was rejected by his society. Now, Madara wasn't so much as the other ones, but he was even rejected by his society. Doggone Midora, clearly rejected by his society. Left for dead from birth. Rejected by his society. So, Froze meets him, the goddess of the chefs. She brings him home. She eventually became the goddess of the chefs. And Bishoku, the god of Bishoku, the god of Bishoku, Acacia. And they take him in as a foster parents, and amongst they have two other, Madara has two other foster brothers, adopted brothers, and Ichirayu and Jiro, who eventually Ichirayu became President Ichirayu of the IGO, and Jiro became Knocking Master Jiro. And he also had another name, Rampaging Wolf or something along those lines, whatever. And Midora, and he grew up, and they each were controlled, and each one. But Midora loved Froze, and there's a lot of elements with, the bonds he made, and he had a family. Well, things happened because of the Blue Nitro and the whole event. So you read Toriko, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it, but things happened. And so he ends up, Froze dies in front of him. He tries to help her, but she tries to help, and she ends up dying. Okay, and the cure wall and the whole thing. When all that didn't work, Midora, his darkness, and it was so ironic because the world with Acacia given the ingredient God, okay, he hit Acacia's main course, God. He gave that to the warriors and to stop the world war. But Froze died, Madara, he went dark. Now, none of these guys I consider, I'll get to their classification as a villain later on. But let me finish up with Midora. With Midora, he goes dark. He eventually forms a Bishoku god, and he just feeds, and he keeps eating, and he's a powerful Bishoku. He even fights his own brother. See, that's another thing. Ichirayu fights him. It wasn't, Ichirayu didn't end up killing him. But this is somewhat to Hashirama. But Ichirayu fights Midora and massively hurts him. And so Midora just goes into hunger mode, and he goes into gourmet mode. And eventually we have Meteor Spice and whatnot, and trying to revert the world back to how it was, and to erase all that age of plenty, And it's like, oh man, the depth of this game. And out of the three, Ichirayu seems to be the smartest of the brothers, Acacia's three disciples. Jiro seems to be the wisest, and Midora seems to be the deepest thinker. Because Midora don't talk too much. Okay? He just does things. He just puts in work. And his hunger space. And he's got this, now it's this massive, it's Toriko, everything's massive. It's colossal eating disorder, where he never is full. So it's an emotional, it's mental. He's so psychologically, harmed that his appetite is always ongoing. I mean, dude's wild. The dude's become top predator. He's become what nature's made him. And before I finish this off with a couple ending notes I like to make. Number one, about the classification of these characters as a villain. None of these characters I classify as a villain. With Frankenstein's monster, he was simply arguably he was the antagonist to Victor Frankenstein. Although to me, I love Frankenstein's monster. Actually, if I think about it, he's one of my favorite characters of all time. Okay, love him. And it's an example of when the antagonist, not always is the protagonist justified. Not always is the protagonist heroic. Okay. Now, another example of that is Creon from the Greek tragedy play, Greek drama / tragedy, Antigone. Now, with Midora, he is not a villain, and I should have been dropped video of the arts villains, but it will come soon. Now with Madara, he is not a villain. He is an antagonist. He's a real antagonist. Obito was a trash villain. Madara is simply an antagonist. He doesn't even. You can say what he's doing is villainous. You can say that, but he doesn't have any qualms. No villainous qualms. He just does. He just has a very much imposing ideology to Naruto and practically the rest of the Shinobi Alliance, and Noki, and all the rest. You understand what I'm saying? The 4 dead Hokages. You understand what I'm saying? So it's an ideological struggle. But Madara himself, I don't consider him villainous at all. So no, he's an antagonist. And as far as Midora, I have never considered him. Well, he could have been said to be a villain. But when we got that whole flashback and backstory, oh, he's not a villainous at all. He's simply an antagonist, or was an antagonist. Now what does he go out to do? You know, especially Starson's always been an antagonist. He's never been a villain. Midora, I don't consider him an antagonist. Now with Neo and everything, oh yeah, he's definitely not a villain. Midora is not a villain. And even his villain status was always questioned. It's like how Satsuki, you know, from Kill la Kill, her villain status was always questionable. I consider her an anti-villain. I just consider Midora an antagonist at this point. Same thing with Madara and Frankenstein's monster. Now, to wrap all this up, ending points, the conclusion of all this. These characters that are monsters, you understand? Monsters not in the typical sense. They are the freaks of nature. They are, you know, literally a freak of nature. They're abnormalities, okay? They're a product of society, the product of their environment, you know. They're this thrown, you know, they're rejected, practically birth or during childhood. In the case of Madara, they are rejected by society, all of them are, and they have deep psychological and philosophical issues that create them to be paradoxes, because all their actions are quite hypocritical. But their hypocrisy is understandable because they're a paradox. They are living paradoxes. Well, fictional, but still, they're living paradoxes, because the societies that they were raised in were so corrupted, were so shady, were so, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Their societies themselves were hypocritical, so they produce hypocrites. You understand what I'm saying? They're simply products of the society, and the society has to bear the repercussions of what they created. They have to deal with the mess that they created. Especially beautifully seen in the case of Madara. The war. This is the culmination of all that you've done. In the case of Midora, the meteor spice, all the hatred, all the built-up emotions was a culmination of everything that was done. In the case of Frankenstein's monster, the murders were a culmination of what? I mean, because you don't, besides, you can say rape, besides rape, you don't get more ten-handed, more a vile act than the act of murder when it comes to society and civilization. When it comes to, I should say, civilization. Society, too broad. When it comes to civilization, it doesn't get much, you know, more of a question, or it shouldn't be, than in the case of murder. Okay? So, this was I know it's a long video, it's going on near 50 minutes, but this was a literary analysis of Frankenstein's monster, Uchiha Madara, and Midora's reasonings. Okay, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope I was able to teach a few things, educate y'all in a certain way, and yeah, unexpected wonder, like, comment, subscribe, tell me your thoughts, and I would love to have a discussion about these different characters, and alright y'all, till next time, peace.